For the people in your district that are voting and the approval, what is the increase that they're going to expect kind of on their taxes?
You're voting for a potential tax increase.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no question. If you're voting for this, you're voting for us having the ability to raise taxes up 6 cents. So for that average home, you're looking for about $150.
Welcome to the Real Estate of Texas with the Gals of the Hill Country. Brought to you by Solid Realty Group in Boerne, Texas at solidrealtygroup.com. And now your hosts, Jessica Johnson and Callie Red.
Good morning, y'all. Welcome to the Real Estate of Texas, presented by Solid Realty Group. I'm Jessica Johnson, here with my fabulous business partner, Miss Callie Red, and we are recording from the beautiful Richter's Tavern at 153 Main Street, Texas.
Main Street in Boerne is so quaint and filled with unique local businesses everywhere you turn. If you're listening to us as a podcast, which you can find us on any podcast app, and you've never been to Boerne, Texas, you should definitely come and visit.
And if you want some more information, you can also join our Moving to Texas All About Boerne page to find out some of our great Boerne business spotlights that we will highlight later in today's show.
Today's show is all about Boerne, and we have Ty Wolosin, Boerne City Councilman, here to discuss the details of the upcoming Quality of Life Bond, which will be on the ballot in November. So welcome. Thank you for coming. And what do the voters need to know?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. It's an important part of the process and being a city council person is getting info out to the voters. So
you've been a city council member for a while now, haven't you, Ty?
It's been 4 years in December.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You really
Does it feel like longer or shorter?
Indifferent. I mean, I'm kind
Feels
of
like 4 years.
I'm a lover of information, and so being a part of that information, learning how a city does or does not work.
I bet you learned a lot.
I've a ton. Super thankful to be able to represent the city and, hopefully move it towards a direction I think is better.
What made you decide to join the city council?
So a little bit when Joanne Salido, my predecessor, had to relinquish his seat because he moved out of the district.
Right.
Some people reached out to me and thought of doing it. And then also the demographic, typically it's not someone in my age bracket. So I thought that checked a mark, bringing in some younger blood, also being a business owner on Main Street.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I felt like I checked boxes that were positives for the community and had people push me to do it and did my due diligence. And lucky enough was to be appointed when I was. And then 2 elections since then, no one ran against me. So
you're a good guy here. We enjoy having you here. I think you really do have Boerne at heart. So it's nice to see what the community is doing for us. So
thank you. Appreciate it.
And then you also said you're Mayor Pro Tem. Is that correct?
Correct. The way our council system works is every year after the May election, council appoints Mayor Pro Tem. Typically just means if the mayor's out, you're acting mayor, which is usually just means if the mayor, like this last meeting, is out because of illness or vacation or what have you, then I'm filling his spot. And so the last 2 election cycles, the council has been nice enough to appoint me to that position. So
fantastic. Well, we are super happy to have you here, Ty. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right.
Tell us all about these bonds.
Yes.
Sure. So, I mean, it's probably important because I think a lot of people I think the mayor said this one of his first meetings, is everything's okay until the lights stop working, and then everyone's like, why aren't the lights working? What I mean by that is this process has been a year in the making. Essentially starting a year ago, we told staff we would like to do some sort of bond. So that process, again, all publicly started, and then kind of officially in December we started having official meetings, and then January up through May workshops based on various topics. And these bonds started around $90 million for various things, from fire department to new utility service buildings, etc. And in talking with staff, realized that some of the projects we could do in different ways, but the 2 ones we felt like we should put in front of voters, which are Prop A and Prop B. Prop A is a streets and mobility bond, and then Prop B is a parks and open space bond. So essentially we went from this big number down to, still a relatively big number, so at $36 million, but for perspective, the city of Boerne has about a $100 million budget, so it gives you an idea of where that fits in there. But we felt like those 2 would be good ones to essentially get the voice of the voters on whether they also thought those were. We felt they were based on master plan, citizen survey, etc. Those have always been hot topics for people who have been part of the process and part of those surveys.
Well, traffic definitely comes up. Anytime you ask anybody about anything, traffic comes up.
Absolutely. And the other Traffic Transportation Committee, which is a collaboration between City of Boerne, the Kendall County, and City of Fair Oaks, is coming to a close soon. And part of that is that they've given recommendations that are part of this bond process. And one thing we've heard loud and clear is no one wants new roads out in the county. So this doesn't do this. This fixes existing roads, specifically with Adler Road, which is already one of the roads that's used as a relief route when Main Street's closed, as well as with the potential park bond passing, we'll have just that much more traffic on it. So this will take Adler, give it the ability to have more traffic flow, but again, without doing a new road and all the concerns that people have with that. So we heard that loud and clear, but we also hear the traffic concerns. We feel like with the fix of Adler, as well as a group of intersections, it'll have a big impact short term for the city of Boerne, and that's exactly what this bond does.
So that would be Prop A, and it's at $23 million for the road portion.
Correct. So Prop A, and the majority of that bond is, again, for Adler Road. About $14 million of the $23 million is for the reconstruction of Adler. That would basically keep the 2 lanes of traffic, but add a 2-way turning lane in the middle. Would also add another sidewalk on the other side of the street. There is, an existing one all the way to Garden. It would now extend up to where hopefully at some point the number 9 will go to 5 Points. That's kind of the intersection, which is a whole nother
That's a problematic intersection.
Problem area. That being said, the cool thing is a child of knowledge, what I've learned is basically a road that has 2 lanes can move just as much traffic as a 4-lane road. The problem becomes intersections. So Adler doesn't need to be 4 lanes. That doesn't help the in-between traffic. It's those main intersections that we need to fix. So,
well, you do have the school over there, so I guess the turn lane would help with the school traffic.
Absolutely.
That seems to be a problem all over Boerne. Anytime there's a school, there's a lot of traffic.
And this will help a lot. It'll give just that much more turn capacity into Currington, as well as if the other bond passes, which we'll talk about in a moment, we could potentially have a huge new park center that would also have a lot of traffic.
So the Prop A, does that have something to do with water as well? Some water?
So there's some aspects of Prop A that have drainage, because essentially when you have roads, that's also definitely in smaller towns, it connects drainage into it. So if you rebuild Adler and put curbs, well, the minute you put a curb, that's now directing drainage a certain direction. So you also have to look into what can we do with drainage. This is my district, so obviously know it pretty well. So Adler and Curry Creek, which is near the Parks Department, there's homes right next to the Park Department, right on Curry Creek, that have always had issues with flooding. In conjunction with another project, we're going to be raising that road so that first responders can get through, and then also with the road construction, that'll help protect some of those homes that have been flooding by being able to do curbing and drainage improvements, as well as detention facilities as part of the park project, which is in Prop B. But the way we looked at it is, how can we get the most bang for the buck if we're asking taxpayers to potentially raise rates, not necessarily tax rates? How can we make sure that increase goes as far as possible so that it has the biggest impact with the least amount of increase?
Now, you had talked about, or somebody had asked a question at one of the bond meetings last week. They had said that you were going to hopefully, from my understanding, work in conjunction with TxDOT, which allows you to get a little more money to do more projects and then not take as much of the money from the bond, right? Will you explain that a little bit?
Absolutely. So a good example of this is the current project we worked with TxDOT is the Cascade Caverns West San Antonio intersection over by the new Bill Miller's middle school, elementary, that kind of mess. That area, which is has Geneva there, lots of new subdivisions back there off Cascade Caverns, as well as drainage issues. Basically, we worked with TxDOT by funding part of it and then TxDOT funding the rest to be able to do potentially is going to be a huge improvement to transportation, drainage, etc. So anytime we can work with TxDOT, we want to, because that means the state will put up money, the city will have to put up less money.
Gotcha. Well, in case you're just joining us, we are here with the real estate of Texas, and we are talking to Councilman Ty Wolosin about the Boerne bonds. So we were just talking about Prop A and some of the things that we had done and how the city and the state are tying it together to see if they can make this a better project. Now, time frame wise, what do you think it's projected to be to fix that if you get
Prop A passed?
In conjunction with the state versus just if you have to do it here in Boerne?
So all the projects that are connected to Prop A are city-specific projects.
Okay.
So aren't necessarily connected to TxDOT.
Gotcha.
If Prop A passes in November, I think by next budget cycle, you'll see all these projects basically coming forward. So Jeff Carroll, who's the head of that department, once he gets the A-OK that we have funding for it, then he's going to go start saying, okay, council, we need to go out for a bid for Adler Road, et cetera. But I feel comfortable that by next budget cycle, which means by next August is when we have to be done with that would be part of that.
So tell us a little bit about Prop B.
Sure. Prop B, Parks and Open Space, $13 million. The bulk of this money is for the Northside Community Park,
Which is on Adler.
Correct.
For those
so
that don't
yeah,
know,
Adler,
kind of by the skate park,
yep,
right?
Yep, it is the skate park. Yep, that's part of it. So Plant and Adler. Plant kind of turns into Topperwine across from Currington, existing skate park, big open field that some people use for recreational activities or walking their dogs, etc. That is Northside Park.
Right. So the city owns probably a little more land there than most people realize.
They do. It's over 100 acres and was purchased in the last bond, which was in 2009. It's been a while.
It has been. What is that? 12 years? 13? Wow. Okay.
So that property was purchased back then with voter-approved funds to be a park, not just empty space. So we're finally kind of coming full circle, potentially, if voters decide to do that, to help develop this park. And this would become Boerne's signature park. It would have an extension of the skate park, a pump track, which is a BMX thing that I've heard from different people that they'd like to see some sort of BMX features, a dog park, more recreational fields, pickleball courts, basketball courts, a new play feature that would be all access, as well as a interactive play spray feature, so like a
water park? Or like a splash pad?
Like a splash pad,
Okay.
but a little more interactive than, like, I kind of use the Pearl as like low level interaction, right? It's just
Gotcha.
like just sprays water. This would have more features than that.
Okay.
But I mean, the potential for everything that could fit into this, but at the same time respecting the trees and the nature that's there is huge. And we've heard that question from people like, well, there's all these beautiful live oaks, you're going to tear them all down. Obviously, that's never going to be our goal. We're trying to design it to minimize that or eliminate it if possible, right? So only if needed would we do that. And of course, we would replant or do just like anyone would have to. The city still has to follow their own rules as well. So just like a developer would, the city has to do the same thing. But that's the biggest part of that bond. Other part of it, which is much smaller, is improving existing parks. Northrop Park, which most people know, like the softball, baseball fields. There's some improvements they'd like to do there, add another field, some lights, some better shelters, and then a walking path back in the kind of woods area near the basketball courts. I don't know how many citizens go back there, but it's kind of really cool hilled area that would be fun to have trails. And then also going to City Park, which is mostly known for the soccer and tennis fields, help improve. Adding a couple fields there would just help, because those fields are worked about as hard as they can, and particularly just by youth soccer. So helping to expand that would maybe help expand the recreational opportunities for children in the community.
Oh, yeah, that'd be fantastic. So for the people in your district that are voting and the approval, what is the increase that they're going to expect kind of on their taxes? What is that going to happen to them?
Right. So it's pretty interesting is you're voting for a potential tax increase. Like, there's no question. If you're voting for this, you're voting for us having the ability to raise taxes up 6 cents.
Okay.
That could be for a quote normal house in Boerne. I think the valuation, and y'all probably know this better than me, is around $390,000 plus or minus. So for that average home, you're looking for about $150 increase in property tax to be able to fund these.
Okay.
That being said, because of the appraisal district following state law to increasing property valuations, it's possible, definitely if it's like this year, that we won't have to raise taxes, because tax valuations will be high enough that the balance of that going up would mean we wouldn't need to increase them. So it doesn't necessarily help the property owner out per se, but we wouldn't actually be adding tax rate. We'd just be using the new tax valuations to plug in our numbers based on that. It gets very confusing, but essentially the reason the city, county, and school district all lowered taxes this year across the board is because tax valuations were higher.
Okay.
And so legally we had to, but by giving us that 6 cent bump via voting on this, that would mean we'd have that margin of error. So let's say we needed to lower the taxes 6 cents. Well, then we'd actually just keep it where it is this year.
Okay.
So do you have a breakdown? So it's 6 cents if both props passed. Do you have a breakdown for what it would be if only one passed or the other passed?
So you're right. I don't have the exact breakdown, but essentially, call it the roads bonds about double. So let's call it 4 cents for the roads and then 2 cents for the parks. So roughly that. So what that breaks down to, I mean, just doing really quick math. So say $45 for the parks bond and $100 for the roads bond.
Yeah.
Give or take. I think it's important. Some of the comments I've seen, social media and such, make it seem like, the city's not spending money the right way, all these things. But, working with the city for the past 4 years, very conservative in how they spend money. I think people have a opinion of what they want the city to be like, what they want our police to be like, our fire department. We have high standards. High standards cost more. It's also the market to hire good engineers, et cetera, is very competitive. I know this from being a business owner. You got to pay well to keep the right staff.
So to piggyback on that just a tiny bit, do you expect these to be local contractors that would get this work, or local engineering firms that would draw the plans, or how would y'all bid that process out?
So, good and bad of government is that our legal, we have to put it out for bid, and then the lowest bidder, assuming they fit the credentials, will get it. So you can't guarantee that it's going to be local.
So are there local companies that fit the credentials?
Probably not for the bigger street projects. For some of the park projects, it's possible. I know we've had some local contractors do sidewalks, maybe aspects of it, and possibly from San Antonio. But again, that's the harder thing to say because the way the state dictates the process.
So the state dictates the credentials that are required rather than the city dictating the credentials?
For the bidding process. So if, let's say, Adler, use that as an example. So Adler is going to have all these criteria for what a contractor is going to do, and maybe that'll be broken down. That's a question for Jeff Carroll. But let's say it's one. Well, that contractor is going to have had the background to have done that sort of project, which includes XYZ, and then be the lowest bidder based on whoever bids for this project. Usually for these bigger projects, I assume we'll get a pretty good amount of bids, but again, it's low bid.
The irony of that, though, it baffles me. The lowest bidder, like what?
Yeah, no, I mean, again, coming from the private sector where it's like you get stuff done, you pay for the best work, not necessarily always the lowest bidder.
Yeah.
It can be frustrating, but that's the way it does. That's why sometimes with TxDOT, there's frustrations, right? You got a guy who won the lowest bid on the bridge, but he's doing 10 other projects in the state, and that's why it might take 6 months, 8 months. So
yeah,
it's frustrating, but the way it is, and it's not because that's the way we want it to be. We have to follow the rules, and it could, if there is a local company that fits all the criteria and makes the lowest bid, then
right. So I guess the other thing that I hear as far as maybe a negative comment would be that it's just not the right timing. What do you say to that? And I think that they say that because the tax valuations have gone up, so you will be collecting more taxes on the same properties than you were before, just because the valuations have gone up. And then with the inflation and groceries and everything going up, people are just like, this is not the right time to ask for more money. So what would be your response to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to say when the right time is. I mean, at some point you have to ask. The city is fast growth. The county's fast growth. We have obvious issues. So next year, we don't know what next year is. Last 2 years during COVID, that wasn't the right time either. Should they have done it right after they'd done the other bond? Well, that's the past, right? We can only focus on what the now is. And we think that these projects are important to what people expect for our city. And, it's up to the voters to ultimately decide that. I can't speak for the right time because, who knows what the right time is? Yeah, it could be anything. So
we do have a informational meeting coming up on October the 12th where you can find out more information about these bonds.
Where will that be?
That'll be at the Boerne City Hall, most likely in the chamber quarters, which is like the big, when you walk in the main door on the left. If for some reason it's not there, they'll have information on where it would be, but still within City Hall. And October 12th, 6 p.m., definitely recommend, people want to be part of the process. Come ask questions. There's not a bad question. Even if you're against this, come ask, because you're not going to get information unless you come and ask. And I think it's a better way to do it in person than social media, because not every council person is going to see that. Come speak. It's okay. Again, there's no...
I know you'll also have some flyers and some big boards printed up with information on it. I believe one's located at the City Hall and one's at the library.
Correct.
Right?
So there's informational boards at City Hall, the City Library, and then there's a few city-sponsored events coming up where they'll have posters and flyers being handed out as well.
Perfect. And then early voting begins on October 24th.
Yeah, please vote. I mean, if you're in the city, obviously I hope you vote, yes or no, but just vote either way. And also just important part of the democratic process is getting out to vote. So,
yeah, our voter turnout is horrible here, so everybody please just go cast a ballot.
Yep.
Yes. I mean, Boerne is the fastest growing city in the country, which is great for real estate, but people have to get involved in the community. They can't just complain. You gotta go to the ballot.
Gotta go vote.
Gotta go vote. So today's show was all about Boerne, and we had Ty Wolosin, who is a councilman here in Boerne, talking about the Boerne bond. Thank you so much, Ty. We really appreciate your time and letting us know more about that. It's a really informative thing, so we appreciate you coming out. You have a great afternoon. And a little later in our show today, on our Boerne Business Spotlight, we have Boerne CrossFit with Sue Ecklin, one of the owners there. We are super happy to hear all about what they do and how they help the community, so stay tuned for that. The real estate of Texas is always changing. Get a solid start to buying or selling a house with Solid Realty Group. Hey y'all, I'm Jessica Johnson, co-owner of Solid Realty Group, Boerne's 5-star realtors, where we have saved our clients over $3 million. Given today's rising home values and interest rates, every penny counts. Call Solid Realty Group to buy or sell, and we can help you save more and stress less. Call us at 210-827-3733, solidrealtygroup.com.
Welcome back, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today on the Real Estate of Texas, brought to you by Solid Realty Group. Today, we are so blessed to have Sue Ecklin in the studio with us to talk about her business, Crossfit Boerne. Welcome,
I
Sue.
love CrossFit Boerne. It's so much fun. How are you, Sue?
I am doing great. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Fantastic. We want to know a little bit about CrossFit Boerne and what it does for our community.
Well, CrossFit in and of itself is a type of exercise. It's typically tagged to high-intensity workouts, although many people think that you have to be in shape to start CrossFit, and you really don't. You really should if you want to change your lifestyle, if you want to become more healthy, if you want to actually adapt different types of lifestyle skills that can enter and maintain throughout your 80s and 90s for the rest of your life. CrossFit actually can adapt and do that for you. So it's not really all about the exercise. It's also about nutrition. It's about sleep. It's about hydration. And the coaches at CrossFit Boerne are wonderful. They all understand that. And we incorporate that with each and every one of our members within CrossFit.
Yeah, and you make it a community. You guys have brought that to Boerne it's been around for quite a long time now.
It has. CrossFit Boerne was actually started by an Air Force pilot back in 2012, which you know because that's how we met.
Yes.
And it's evolved over the last, 10 years?
10 years.
And I personally purchased it back in 2018, and we moved into the location where we are now, which is down there by the Toyota Center. It's 30875 I-10 East, actually in the eastbound lane going into San Antonio. But we actually moved into about 4,200 square foot facility. It's air conditioned. It's heated, which in the past we have not had that. And many CrossFit gyms traditionally don't. CrossFit in of itself started off in a garage. Barbells and the rig, which we do a lot of gymnastics on, all that is metal, and it's very, very cold. So because of that, we went ahead and built a very nice facility with lockers and showers for our members. Most of our members come in the morning, work out, shower, and then go to work.
Yeah.
We're open. We start at 5 a.m. Monday through Friday. We finish up about 7:30, 8 o'clock Monday through Friday. And then Saturdays, we actually open it up to the community. So at 8 a.m., you can come in on a Saturday morning. You can try out CrossFit. If you've never done CrossFit, we'll have multiple coaches there. You will get one-on-one attention, and we will teach you CrossFit movements themselves. But we also adapt those movements to your capability, whether it been if you haven't been working out for a while, if you've never worked out, if you've done CrossFit before, if you've done a little bit of barbell lifting, we can adapt to your ability.
That's so cool. And you guys also have yoga, right?
We do. We have a yoga. We've just recently have changed that more into a mobility type of program. So we tailored that a little bit more to our CrossFit community. We're going to start that up on after the 8 a.m. Saturday morning classes. As well as once a month, we're going to be coming in and doing some more traditional yoga. So our schedule is changing right now, but you can look on our website for more information about that.
And what is your website?
It is www.crossfitboerne.com.
Okay, and then a phone number?
830-431-8787.
Yes. If someone wants to come and check it out, they can get to you guys. They can give you guys a call. But you guys also do some events with other CrossFits, right? You guys?
We do. We are having October 8th, we have an internal comp going on, which if you know a CrossFit Boerne member and you're not a CrossFit Boerne member, you're welcome to come in and team up. It's going to be a partner WOD. We do a lot of things within the community. We do community events themselves. This month we had gone and did a float, down the river. And we've gone roller skating. We do a lot of things to promote the community itself. We also do external events. We've hosted the Festivus Games in the past, and starting the first half of the next year, we'll be doing some more external events.
Oh, how fun, how fun. Is there anything else?
We firmly believe that CrossFit is not only about working out, but it's also about making sure that community is that right tribe for you, because it's very much a family. I could tell you, all the CrossFit members I know, if something were to happen at 2 a.m. in the morning, I could call them and they'd be right there helping me out.
Oh, I know. I love it. 10 years. God, that's wild.
It is.
What a great run in Boerne. No, that's absolutely wonderful. So, Callie and I always like to ask the one question. It is, what is your favorite thing about Boerne?
Wow. Pretty much everything. I know everybody says, Boerne is no longer Boerne. I disagree. We still have that small town feel. We have the community itself. Every time I go into Boerne, I'll be walking down the sidewalk, I will see somebody that I know.
Yeah.
It's just great, and it brings the flavor, everything that you have in a big city available to you, you have here in Boerne, but yet the community is still there.
I love that. That's so true. That's so true. Well, if you get the opportunity, go check out CrossFit Boerne, owner Sue Ecklin, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Have a great day, y'all.
That's all the time we have today for the Real Estate of Texas, presented by Solid Realty Group. Remember us if you're in the market for a new house or thinking about selling the one you've got. Call us today at 210-827-3733 or go to solidrealtygroup.com. Have a beautiful day.
Bye, y'all.